Boys, we are live. Welcome to the show. Today is a very, very special episode. So I had to crack this beer, and this one is for you, Kraser. Boys, wish producer Kraser a happy birthday. How you doing, bud?
Hey, boys and girls, I'm doing great. Feel a year older, but a year more inspired and ready to give you guys the information you need to succeed. That is my birthday wish this year, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
Then have a sip of that beer.
oh yeah, let me get one of these in here, and let's start it up. There was some different types of news. Two contradictory pieces of news came out over the last week. The big news, of course, was the Tether decline and subsequent fall, you could say. But we'll get to that. First, Kraser, what are we at with the picks last week?
Well, the picks last week, we were sitting around 6,300. I think we both lost. It would end up being a draw. So nobody was right and no one was wrong.
Yeah.
So we'll call it another tie. I think it's happened twice now. I mean, odds of that if we were on betting would have made a good ton of cash, but it's not why we're here. We're here to help you make a ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah, well,
We'll
I
just
think
speak
that
about it.
I think the pump that led to us both being wrong. We both took the under last week, and there was a pump early on in the week because of the stable coin Tether and how it lost its $1 peg. It fell all the way to, I think the lowest was 83 cents. And that led a lot of people. I mean, Tether has the second highest trading volume, second to only Bitcoin, and that led a lot of people to move their Tether into Bitcoin and cause a little bit of a dump there. So we're gonna do a little history on Tether because Tether is a total shit coin. I mean, they're pretty shady, and I don't like what they're doing over there. I don't think it was the first popular stable coin, but I've never gone into USDT, nor will I ever touch it. But it did cause the rise of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin did fall back down. So I think we would have both been either right, or Bitcoin would have sat near the same area that it has been for a while here, like almost 2 months. And if you look at the Bitcoin to dollar exchange rate, it's pretty much extending its sideways trend of consolidation, and we're in a downward triangle. So we'll see what kind of price action we get before we make a decision where it's going. The volatility is sitting right near the upper trend line of the descending triangle. So a lot of people are expecting a breakout, but this could be more of a bull trap. So I'm gonna wait for the price to develop a little bit more here before making any moves. But Tether, I mean, shit. Let's go back to Tether, because Tether has been a big part of the community, the trading community, for a long time, and it was supposedly pegged to the US dollar, but you could follow the Tether printer on Twitter and see all the times they're printing Tether, and it's just absolutely ridiculous how much Tether they print. There's no way that they have all that cash in the bank. And for traders, it was a way to find a stable coin to go into USDT and then maybe move into another coin, or rebuy whatever they're trading out of. But it was said to be a stable coin, and it was supposedly linked to the US dollar at a 1-to-1 ratio. But when it's all said and done, Tether lost its $1 peg. So there's a lot of concerns about Tether's reserves, like how much fiat they actually have in the bank. Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I just find it hard to believe that they could have so much fiat in the bank as much as they're printing. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, and it dipped way below the $1 mark. There's a lot of negative sentiment, and there was a report at the beginning of the month that stated that Tether and Bitfinex, which we'll get to in a minute because Bitfinex is doing some shady shit as well. The exchange responsible for issuing the tokens had left Noble Bank, so they don't have any banking relationships. And then it was proven because Bitfinex temporarily suspended fiat deposits, and they didn't give any reason for that. So it was most likely because they lost their banking connections. And Tether has had a long history. I mean, it was launched in November 2014. It was called something else prior. I can't remember exactly. It was called some kind of coin, but
Real coin.
Real coin. Yeah, that's it. And it was created by Brock Pierce, and Brock Pierce is the one who founded Bitcoin Foundation. He's a big pillar in the crypto community. He lives out in Puerto Rico, so he probably hooked up Tether with their Noble banking connections. But the main idea behind Tether was pretty simple. They just wanted to provide a utility token that was in fact a stablecoin. It represented the US dollar at a 1-to-1 ratio, and you could make cross-border payments quickly and easily, benefiting from both blockchain and the stability of the US dollar. Let me take a sip here, boys. But yeah, Tether and Bitfinex have a pretty detailed relationship. They had an association with the exchange for a while now, and Bitfinex integrated Tether into its exchange in 2015. But over the last couple of years, there's been like a lot of scrutiny on them all, and I mean, the amount of Tether they've printed and the amount of fiat they have is still remains to speculation. There's not been an official audit. So, I mean, the balance sheet on their website claims to provide a pretty transparent reflection of what they got in the bank, but they haven't done any audits of their accounts or their assets by any third party. So they did promise that back in a while ago, and we never received it, the community. So I've always stayed away from Tether. I'm not a big fan of it. And also Bitfinex, I've been saying that they're shady for a while now. They've been struggling with banks, and I mean, they had supposedly in early October created a partnership with HSBC. Bitfinex is based out of Hong Kong, so that made sense. They created a partnership with HSBC, but 2 weeks after they got shut down, and they moved to a different bank, and they disabled all deposits, all fiat deposits and withdrawals. So that was like only 2 weeks ago, and now they're with Bank of Communications, which is like a pretty large bank out of mainland China. But the problem with them is they're using an alias to create their bank accounts. They used an alias called Prosperity Revenue Merchandising Limited, and got a pretty much a temporary account. But that's their big problem, is they don't have any history with any bank. They keep using a shell company to create accounts at different banks, and then they go from one to the next to the next to the next, and each of these are going to be short-lived. It's not a sustainable solution for their banking issues. And if they keep disabling fiat deposits and withdrawals, that's gonna be a big problem moving forward. This is a serious banking issue that they're facing, and I mean, you can't run an exchange if you don't have a good, clean bank account where they understand your business model. They even released a statement saying that they're to the people on Bitfinex, to the users, that to keep their bank information private, essentially, that their bank information is commercially sensitive and confidential. So if you cash out from Bitfinex you're not supposed to tell people who wired you money, and they're trying to keep that confidential, and that it's only being provided for purposes of contributing to good faith funding. So I mean, it's pretty
So
ridiculous.
yeah, I was gonna say, so to me, if you put the pieces together, it doesn't look too good on their part. It looks, like you said, kind of shady. But like, I want to ask you, Dan, if you do have money in this, if you do have some tether, what do you suggest these people do? Do you suggest maybe they keep it? Do you suggest they get out as quick as they can before it goes even more down? Or what do you think? What's some of the
Well,
piece of advice you can give?
yeah, I mean, it depends how much tether you have, I would say. If you made a trade and you're up, a significant amount in profit, I would say get out of Tether right now, because Tether is sitting at 98 cents, so it's almost back to $1, which is pretty good. But you would just take like a small haircut on that if you got out of it right now. But with that said, um, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Like it's gonna go down. It's already shown that the volatility is there, that it can be dumped, and it's just a matter of time before it does. Like that's my opinion, is that I would get out of Tether immediately, if especially if you're using it as a placeholder and you've already traded out of you got out of a profitable position. Then I would get out of Tether too and take the 2% haircut.
Yeah, so definitely, if we hear correctly, ladies and gentlemen, Tether, stay away, get your assets out, move on, try to find something different because, like Dan said, it ain't looking too hot right now, boys. It ain't
Yeah,
looking too hot.
no, I would definitely get out of Tether, but there's been a lot of good news, and I think like the fact that we're seeing just such a consolidation trend here is good news in and of itself, and that Bitcoin could pop soon, or could have, a run up to like around 9K by the end of the year, over the next couple of weeks. But we could be in this channel for another even 4 to 6 weeks. But I think this is a good time for accumulation, and a lot of the infrastructure pieces in crypto are coming in. Mike Novogratz and Goldman Sachs just announced a $15 million investment into Bitgo, which is a crypto custodian firm. And I mean, Goldman Sachs is a giant, and Mike
Yeah.
Novogratz is a former partner there, and he's now CEO of Galaxy Digital, which is a crypto investment firm, and they just invested into the crypto custody service for Bitgo, which is huge. That's something that's needed. We need secure storage of crypto that hackers can't touch, and that people feel safe. I mean, nobody's keeping their life savings under their mattress. You know what I mean? We have banks for like that's just it's stupid, and we don't have that infrastructure yet in crypto. So that's really really big for the development of the infrastructure. Bitgo did a Series B, and they brought in almost 60 million, 58.5 million. And according to Bloomberg, Novogratz and Goldman Sachs contributed 15 million. So that's pretty good. I mean, that'll be big. And I have a Bitgo account. They have their own wallet, and you can use their custodian services as well. And that investment is a I think that's really huge. Like it's actually monumental for crypto in general, because Bitgo is a big company. They just did their Series B, and the fact that a banking giant like Goldman Sachs is backing them is pretty big. This is a strategic play for Goldman Sachs. They don't want to be left behind, and Novogratz is pretty well known for, he's a pretty well known Bitcoin bull, and he's pretty optimistic. And I mean, we'll see where it ends up going from here. He was also his fund was also Fidelity's first custodian client. So he's using the services himself, and now he's developing his own, or he invested into his own service where, taking that Warren Buffett route to monopolizing his industry.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And honestly, like it's nice to see the big players kind of hopping into the crypto, So like you're seeing Goldman Sachs, and like on the past episodes, we've seen like the big universities in the States starting to do a little bit of investment. So it's starting to become sounds a little bit more streamlined. But then when you see those big names, like you said, it like talking about security and privacy, it kind of like gives you that sense. Well, these guys have been around for a while. And if they're kind of starting to buy into the system as well, it should give the consumers the confidence that this will start to be more secure, and you'll be able to feel secure in putting your Bitcoin and your hard-earned money in there. So I think that's something really good for the industry moving forward.
Yeah, it's well needed, and if you're already in crypto, you've been anticipating a reliable service like that for a while. But if you're not in crypto, that's something that is an absolute staple. I mean, if you think about the adoption curve, we're still so early. Crypto is going as predicted. Like, it is unpredictable, but it's going as predicted if you look at the traditional adoption curve of any technology that is changing industries. And the predictable side of crypto is that it is unpredictable over the short term, but over the long term, it's staying consistent in its growth. Like, all the naysayers are the people who are threatened by it. The banks, the central banks, the association of the central banks, the merchant processors like PayPal and Stripe, Square. These companies are threatened by the industry. I mean, even the Warren Buffetts of the world, the Paul Krugmans of the world, they're still talking shit, It's not going to work. It's not backed by a government, this and that. They are completely wrong. They're just doing it because they're trying to prolong the adoption of it. They had the same arguments in 2013, in 2014, in 2015 when Bitcoin was $200, and it just keeps going. Like, people are saying we're in a bear market and we're at 6K, and Bitcoin was $200.
That just shows you how it's come over the years, right? And I think to your point, people always have trouble with adoption, right? Like they learning something new or changing their habits, right? So you will have those people who will fight it, but eventually the change will win. And
yeah,
it will be there whether you like it or not, depending on what anybody else says. But they're just trying to say that because maybe they're not comfortable with it yet, and they want to stick to their old ways. But that's just life. It's called evolution, and this is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the amount of wallet holders, now there's at least 20 million holders of cryptocurrency, and it's still so early. Like, if you look at how quickly it's growing, it's insane. Like, blockchain right now is kind of at the same point as the internet was around in like the early 90s. There was like 20 million people on the internet who had web access. I mean, globally, that's out of 7 billion people. There's 20 million out of 7 billion. And blockchain is in a similar state. We're pretty much at the same adoption rate in 2018, right now, this year, in Q4 of 2018 for blockchain, that we were at in around the early or mid 90s for the internet. And if you look at the internet now, 25 years later, the number of people on the internet has went from 20 million to 4 billion out of 7.6 billion people, right? So just think about that. Just think about how scarce the supply is going to be in 25 years of Bitcoin. So you don't have to be a math genius to get this shit. Like,
it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I think it could be quicker than the internet because social media has grown the amount of people who are who can access information, and everyone has internet access. All you need to do is have a good wallet, understand how to use the wallet, have internet access, and like pretty much we got 4 billion people who have internet access, who can get access to blockchain as well. I mean, there's so many compelling reasons to get into crypto and blockchain once you understand what it is. Like it's absolutely ridiculous how quickly the adoption curve is going to move. This is my opinion. I could be wrong, but I just don't see how it could slow down. I mean, a lot of people are using crypto already for large transactions, like let's say 10,000 to 25,000 or 25,000 or more. You're gonna get it in Bitcoin because if you know how to handle your wallet, and you know how to sell, and you need to get the money quick. I don't have to wait 3 to 5 business days for a wire transfer. It's going to happen within, a couple confirmations on the blockchain. And there's so many applications that haven't even come out yet on the blockchain that, I mean, there's going to be so many threatened industries. Like, people laughed at Ethereum for a long time, like years ago, that it wouldn't work. And look at it now, it's like hovering around $200. Like, I mean, there's so many different use cases for blockchain. Like, I think personally that like cross-border payments and remittances like that are needed, and they will work because there's no need for stable government in a country to create a remittance with blockchain. You just need a wallet system and a way to sell into fiat. But what I see creating a big moment for crypto is more so like games and supply chain use cases where, in 10 years people are going to say, like, how do we live without that? Like, we're still waiting for the big pop off moment. If you look at the adoption curve for, let's say, the TV, right? Like,
Yeah.
TV sets came out in the 1920s, and they were just experimental. Like, only the rich people had them, and I mean, it was purely experimental. It was the radio that was popular, but by 1930, they were still working, but they weren't mainstream. I mean, that's 10 years, right? But then in 1948, when this show called Milton Burton came out, or no, the show wasn't called Milton Burton. It was by a dude named Milton Burton, actually. And people wanted to watch his show. It was like a talk show, basically, and people wanted to watch his show. So everyone bought TVs. They were sold by the millions. It was like an explosion. And then cable TV came around. That was an explosion. I mean, like, there's an adoption curve that we're going through right now that could take, a decade. It could take longer than that. But we don't have the Angry Birds of blockchain. Yeah, we don't have the Pokemon Go of blockchain. We don't have the Milton Burton show of blockchain. And it's going to come. It's probably going to be a game. That's what I see happening, or potentially like a some type of B2B use, or a productivity app, something that brings a lot of people into crypto. Like, the first things that made people want to buy PCs was spreadsheets, so there's going to be something similar that draws a lot of people to crypto, like the Angry Birds of blockchain, or some type of video encoding and storage system on blockchain where content producers can earn rewards. Like, that already exists, but it's going to become more mainstream. And they don't even have, like, blockchain doesn't, like, the banks hate blockchain right now, It's going to be a little time before things come into full swing. And I think in 2018, 2019, we're going to see a huge boom in crypto.
And that's like real soon. 2018 is almost over, so 2019 could see a big boom. But you're right. All it takes is like one like niche thing or one thing to happen, and then boom, it explodes. And like you want to be on the ride before it explodes. You don't want to miss the ride up.
Yeah,
So
definitely. We
it's
got to.
important to get in.
There's a storm brewing right now. There's growing
And yeah,
interest, and the growing interest year to year in crypto has never been higher than it is right now. And we're in a consolidation phase. Bitcoin is in a consolidation phase. I don't know when the run up is going to come, but it's going to be even bigger. Like probably sometime in 2019 or 2020. But by the end of next year, we're going to see all-time highs again, like over 20K Bitcoin. And the people who missed out in 2013, the same people who missed out last year in 2017, at the end of 2017, they will probably miss out on the next surge that happens in 2019 and 2020 because they're not listening to this fucking podcast. They could get in right now and they could be in a really good position when history repeats itself and we see a huge bull run in 2019 or 2020. We're going to see the trend happen. I mean, crypto, Bitcoin, it's not a fad. It's not a video game. This is transformational technology that is creating the future of finance, and it's very similar, but I think in many ways more powerful than the internet. Like, I mean, blockchain couldn't exist without the internet. Actually, they are developing blockchains that run offline right now that have offline settlements, but I think it's we're looking at this is Internet 2.0 more than likely.
Yeah, it's honestly like just thinking about it, like this is making me giddy and like wanting to get like in the game, or like for people who are not in the game, like just you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. Maybe you just put a little bit, dabble in, you never know what that can grow to. Just as long as you have a little bit of skin in the game, you can play. But if you don't enter, you can't play.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Just start it up at least. Just dip your feet in, and I mean, there's a lot of people spreading bad news about crypto, and it's mostly the banks. Like just recently, the Russian central bank, the head of the Russian central bank said crypto fever has begun to diminish. I mean, he's the
on whose
head.
account? On whose account? Obviously, he's gonna say something like that. Like, come on.
Yeah, he believes. He said, like, he has no stats. It's purely just he's trying to diminish the adoption of the technology. He said, fortunately, the crypto fever has begun to diminish. Technologies such as blockchain have inspired great enthusiasm, but now, as far as we can see, the approach to them is more sober. I mean, like, they stated that entrepreneurs are looking for ways to implement blockchain in their business, but that it's diminishing. That digital finance is no longer the world of the advanced consumer. It's the world of the mass consumer. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that we have these people announcing shit like this, but I guess it's gonna continue to happen over and over. They're gonna do what they can to dump the price. But
Of
I mean,
course, they're going to do that over and
yeah,
over, especially if it's in their benefit. They're going to do that over and over and over until one day where it's in their face and they're like, fuck, even if I say something now, it ain't going to do shit. It's going
yeah.
to come to that point.
And
So,
they're trying to create this negative news, but look at Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin hasn't fluctuated at all. It's just sitting in a consolidation phase. It's not moving with the news. I mean, yeah, we had USDT fell as a stable coin. It slipped from its dollar peg and it traded below its historical price range. Obviously, now it's pretty much back. I mean, today it went up like 0.7%. So that's pretty small, but it did recover, and Bitcoin is trading like around 6,500. Actually, let's take a look at that right now. We should do our picks right now, Kraser.
we should do our picks. Honestly, I think I think it's gonna stay kind of where it is. Like I'm gonna go.
Let me
I
pull up
think
the
we have to pick.
charts here.
Yeah, let's pull it up. Take a look.
Yeah, so it,
Well,
you
right
know,
now it's at like 63.70 about.
we had a sharp decline October 11th, and then we had a spike on the 15th with all the Tether news, and now we're looking back like it's back declining. I wouldn't short Bitcoin just yet, but I do think it will come back down to this range of low 6,000s, and it's just going to continue to hover in this range. So I'm going to it's at 63, 65. It's pretty much in the same place we made our picks last week. So I'm going to take the under here. I think we're in a bull trap. I'm going to take the under. I'm not ready to short just yet, but I'm looking at the price action to make my decision.
This is a pretty educated decision. I honestly think I don't really think it's gonna go down, but I also don't really think it's gonna go up. So I'm gonna go with an even. I don't even know if we have
And
that on the
even.
stat pack, but I'm gonna stick within the even, boys. I really think
So
it's gonna
what,
stay
like
around the same.
6,300?
Yeah, you know what? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's
go
fine.
63, around 63, between 6,300 and 6,350.
Okay, sure. So we're at 63, 65. So you're basically taking just a slight under.
Yeah.
Um, if you look at Bitcoin, a little analysis here to close out the show, it looks slightly more short-term bullish than Ether does at the moment, but I mean, it seems like it wants to go straight for the range high rather than to retest the range equilibrium on the 12 hour, but I think it could possibly, this could be a bull trap. So I mean, if it breaks and closes above the range high, it'll be a good confirmation that we're short-term bullish, maybe to 6,700 back up to resistance. But if we see a daily break and close above the range high and the daily supply, above the daily supply, I'm gonna probably long a retest of the support with my target being around like 7,400. So yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. Make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Crypto 10x. You can just type it in on YouTube. And Kraser, you have any last words for the listeners here?
Yeah, I do actually. Last episode I said to throw some comments down. Boys, still waiting for the comments. I'm looking for a birthday chirp here. Whoever has the best birthday chirp for this week will make it on to next week's episode. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. I hope we keep you entertained and keep on listening because we got more stuff coming and you guys are going to love it.
Yeah, thank you, friends, for listening to the podcast. We have a couple thousand listeners now on each episode, and we really want to thank you guys. And we want to thank our sponsor, BitMEX. BitMEX is a cryptocurrency derivatives trading platform. It's awesome. It's the easiest way to margin trade, whether you're from America or Russia or China or the tons of different countries that you can use BitMEX. It is the best, most advanced margin trading exchange. They've never been hacked. Up to 100 times leverage. You can trade without expiry dates. The security is on point. It's Bitcoin's most advanced trading platform. So make sure to click the link in the show notes section. The sign up is less than 30 seconds. You can hop in the show notes again, click the link, sign up, start trading in just minutes. So you're good to go. Thank you, boys, for listening. We'll see you next week.